For decades, Juanita Bynum was hailed as a prophetic voice, untouchable, unstoppable, and undeniably powerful. But at 66, the truth has finally caught up with her. From hidden financial dealings to behind-scenes manipulation in the pulpit, shocking new revelations are surfacing. And what's most disturbing, some of the people closest to her say this was never about ministry. It was always about money, fame, and control. Stay tuned, because what you're about to hear will change how you see her forever. Juanita Bynum, prophetess, evangelist, singer, and once one of the most sought-after women in ministry, has always carried a magnetic presence with her fiery sermons, powerful worship anthems, and deeply emotional testimonies. She built a platform that reached millions around the world. But behind the glittering image, whispers have grown louder over the years. Whispers of manipulation, questionable financial practices, broken relationships, and spiritual control tactics. Today, we're pulling back the curtain. In this video, we're going to walk you through what has really been going on behind the scenes. From her sudden rise to stardom in the early 2000s to the dark controversies that followed, from her explosive divorce with Bishop Thomas Weeks to the accusations of financial exploitation of her followers, and even rumors that her entire image was a well-constructed facade. We'll lay out the facts, testimonies, and receipts that have recently surfaced. And we'll dive into the voices of those who claim to have been silenced for years. And trust me, you're going to want to stay until the end, because one former insider just came forward with details that may flip this story upside down. So buckle up. Let's start at the beginning, Juanita's rise to prominence, and see how the story unfolded and how it unraveled. Before the bright lights, before the best-selling books, and long before the million-dollar ministry empire, Juanita Bynum was just a girl from Chicago. Born into a deeply religious family on January 16, 1959, she was raised in a Pentecostal household where church was not just a part of life, it was life. Her parents were strict, her upbringing disciplined, and her faith deeply rooted. As a young woman, Juanita began preaching locally in storefront churches and neighborhood revival. Her voice was commanding, her presence electric, and soon word began to spread. People weren't just moved by what she said. They were transformed by how she said it. She had a gift. But here's where it gets interesting. Juanita wasn't always embraced by mainstream ministry. In fact, many doors were slammed in her face in the early days. Pastors told her there was no room for a woman like her in the pulpit. Fiery, emotional, unfiltered. She was told to tone it down, to stay in her lane. But she refused. And that refusal, it paid off. Her breakthrough moment came in the late 1990s when she delivered her now legendary sermon, No More Sheets. That message, raw, confessional, and deeply personal, touched a nerve with women across the country who were tired of cycles of broken relationships, sexual shame, and spiritual confusion. She didn't just preach a sermon. She exposed her soul. And in doing so, she captured the hearts of millions. From that moment on, her life changed. She began appearing on major platforms like T.D. Jakes' Woman, Thou Art Loose conferences. Her books flew off shelves. Her music began charting. She launched conferences, prayer summits, and media projects. Juanita wasn't just a preacher. She was becoming a brand. But here's the part most people didn't know. Behind the scenes, some insiders say Juanita was also quickly learning how to build power and control it. They claimed she became highly strategic, even cutthroat when it came to her platform. Staff members were hired and fired at will. Partnerships were formed and dissolved without warning, and more than a few people whispered that Juanita was no longer the humble preacher from Chicago. She was evolving into a spiritual celebrity who knew how to move the crowd and multiply the offering. By the early 2000s, she was a multi-millionaire, flying private, wearing custom gowns, and delivering sermons to tens of thousands. But with that fame came scrutiny. And that's where the story begins to twist. Because just when she reached her peak, the cracks began to show.